So the first thing that we studied was the control structures. So what are control structures? In that we studied, the first one was the sequence structure, means in order how we can execute this statement. Just like here in this example, if we want to enter the two numbers, so till now we haven't discussed how we can take input from the user. So if we want to take the input from the user, then we used to write this statement. The input function is used to take the input from the user. And what type of input we want to take, we have to specify that. If it's the numeric data, then we go with the integer data type. If it's float, then we will go with float. If it's string, then we will go with string. And then after that, we will print the sum just like this. The print statement is same. So this is the first, means the in sequence structure we study how the execution of program will happen in a sequence. After that, what we study was the control structure. So control structure means we have to execute the default order. So we will see each and everything with an example, and we also discuss the selection structure. Means we have to choose between the actions. We have already seen this with various examples. Like if we want the user to enter their age, and according to their age, we will decide whether they are eligible to vote or not. So
Okay.
this is the selection structure that we discussed. And after that, we also discussed the iteration. In iteration, if you remember, we have discussed for loop, while loop, and do while loop. But basically, we focus on for loop because it is mostly used. So if we want to repeat a set of instruction for a specific period of time, then we go with the iterations or loop. After that, we also study about functions. Means what are the functions? They were the reusable code. Means whenever we want them to use, means we will create a small block of code that will do a specific task. And if we want to use somewhere else in the program, then we will use that. So that is the benefit of using function. Now, the new thing that we haven't discussed is the validation. Means how we can validate, just like whenever we try to log in into the system or in your account, if your credentials are not valid, you didn't log in to your account. So that is validation. Means verifying that the credentials that are entered by the user are matched with the credentials that are stored in the database. So that is validation. For that, we mostly use try and catch. Now, what is it means that we will study that also with an example. So this is part 5 where we will write it code. So this is the lecture number 7. So here we are studying about validations. So what are validations? I told you that if we want to verify the input that is entered by the user is correct or not. Let's suppose we will try with a scenario here. We have to ensure that the input that is entered by the user is a numeric number. If it's not a numeric number, something else, it will print that it invalid input. Please enter a numeric number. So we will use it. We will try it with an example here that we have studied in the lecture. So first of all, we will use the while loop. We have studied different loops here. What is the difference between the while loop and the for loop is that when we don't know what is the exact condition, then we go with while. Means, for example, if I ask you to run a specific line of code for 10 counts, then we will go with for loop. Okay. Then after that, if we don't know the specific iteration, I told you to run a loop until that specific terms become false. Then we go with while loop. So here I said that be true if the user enters a numeric number. But if the user didn't enters the numeric number, kindly break it and accept that it's a error value. And you have to print that that was not a valid number. Try again. Okay. So let's run this piece of code. So let's suppose, firstly, I will enter 5. So it will do nothing. But if I run it again, and if I enter alphabet, so let's see what happens. That was not a valid number. This is how the validation works. Okay. In the backend of any logic, or if you see different social media applications that use these validations to verify whether it is an authorized user or not, the basic idea work behind this like this. Now after that we have also another term, that is range validation. Daters means in a specific range, if the user lies in that category, then we can say that it is valid. If it is above that range or below that range, then it will generate an error. Like let's suppose if I says that if the age is greater than 1 year and less than 120, we can say that that's a valid age. But if it is above or below 1, we will say that it's an invalid age. So that is the range validation, that within a specific range, how things are done. So we will study now range validation here. So in range validation, what we have to do, we have to specify the range. Let's suppose I say that age is equals to, it will be entered by the user, and it should be an integer number. Then we want this input function. The input function is used to enter the input from the user. So this is how we will generate. So I say if the age is so we will modify it. Let's suppose, okay, we will keep it 100. Now let's check it, how it works. till it is executed, we will discuss another concept. So here today that the thing that we have to discuss is the style guide, means how we have to write the Python code. So this will be the main topic here. So if you see here, it is the style guide, how you have to write your own Python code here. How many indentations you have to take, how many spaces that you have to take. So we will check about that until this code is executed. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is the name conversion. Means how you will name your variables, your functions or classes, whatever it is, it must be meaningful here. If it's not meaningful, then there is no point. Like for example, if you want to enter a variable, let's suppose you want to calculate the marks of the student, and the variable name should be marks. Instead of marks, you may use another variable a, b, c. That doesn't make any sense. So according to this style guide, you must use a name or variable name that is meaningful, that presents some meaning. So that is the meaning of the first style guide, says that it should be meaningful. So if I discuss some of them here, like here, for example, you want to enter a student name, just like here. So your variable name should be student name, like this. Instead of, if you don't use this student and use only name, but the program that you are creating is related to students and their studies, like that. So that's why it's a good practice to use such kind of meaningful name. But if you use XYZ to store the name of the student, then it's a bad idea because it is not meaningful. The style guide says that your name convention should be meaningful. After that is your code layer. Means you have to use the consistent line lengths and breaks, like this. Means where you have to take a break and where you have not to take a break. You have to take care of them so that it will increase the readability of your code. Like here, we have used some long variables. So this is a very long statement that contains three variables. So we break it in 3 lines. But here, instead of using brackets, we store the result like this. So that is a bad idea. So to increase the readability of the code, then it is a good practice to understand the layout of the code. The most important thing is the indentations. Means how many spaces, after the spaces you have to write the code. So if you remember in the previous lecture, if we like sometimes we didn't provide the proper indentations and the uh, editor throws the error. The reason was that it is the Python rule. It is indentation sensitive, that without the proper spacing, it can throw error. So let's take with an example here. So let's suppose I just remove the space here. So it creates a red line in each and every statement. I told you that Python is indentation sensitive. So if I provide the proper indentation here, the error will be removed automatically. So in Python, you have to take care of each and every indentation here. So without indentation, you cannot write your program. So it's a small tip that uh, maybe you have write the correct code, but due to this indentation, you can face multiple errors. So it is a good practice to know how much spaces the code or the line statement require. So another rule that we have is the comments. Comments are used for understanding purpose. For example, I want to indicate or write that this program is check the age of the user. So to write a comment, we use hash symbol. Hash is used to write the comment. Now the question is why we use comments. Comments are used to make the code more understandable to other users. Maybe your code is viewed by multiple people. Like you upload your code in GitHub. On GitHub, multiple users view your code. If you use comments on each and every cell, so that it will be more easier for them to understand what that line of code means. Now, this code is to validate the age of the user. So I can write a comment here. Like this. So this is the way of writing a comment. Okay. Then after, another style guide that we have is the white spaces. So what is that? So we have white spaces in the expression and the statement. Now what are they? Means the extraordinary space that we use, just like here. We haven't used any white space here, but here after the variable a, there is a space. Then after the operator plus, we have another space, but that is not needed. We have to avoid the unnecessary spaces. Now, what is the reason? It will give you more cleaner code. If you don't, or if you use white spaces, then there is also not a problem. You can go with that. But if you want to present your code to others, then it is a good practice to go to remove that unnecessary white spaces. Then after that, these are the some of the style guides that I have shared. Tip 8 style guide for Python. If you write it on Google, then you will get all of these style guides. Means how to write the Python code. Everything is present in this documentation. It will guide you. Like if you want to know about indentations, see. Everything is mentioned here that you can use 4 spaces per indentation level. Means how you have to give the indentations. If you want to align with opening delimiter, then you have to go with this. If you want to add 4 spaces, an extra level of indentation, so you can go with this. So if you want to learn deeper, then see, they have also given an example like what is the correct way to provide indent and what is the wrong way to write the indentations. So you can go more. And what is the optional here? So if you have time, then you can go here and study all of that. So what are binary? How we can should a line break before or after a binary operator? So if you want to know more about that, then you can study this. So if you want to learn all the style guides, now here we talk about name conventions, overriding principle. If you want to say when you have to use the lowercase letter, when to use the uppercase letter, so you can go with that. And what are the names you should avoid? See, everything is mentioned here. Like never use the character L or O as the uppercase. So everything is mentioned here. How you have to use that name convention. The type of variables, what kind of variables you can use. You can also write or mention here. See, what are the methods for name and instances? How you have to manage the constants, how to manage the variables. So you have to see everything, how you have to label the functions, the variables. So this is the style guide that you can visit. So if you have any question, let me know first.
Yeah, no question.
Okay. So if I sum up the whole story, I have created a program here. Whatever we have studied till now related to variables, loops, functions, everything here, and along with the some guidelines that we have to follow. So I will share this file. You can open this file in your own Google Colab. You can upload this file and try to run this code to understand it more. So if I explain this, so what the scenario here I have used to explain the code here or explain the techniques that we have still studied. So we have created a program to calculate the total price of items. Let's suppose it's a e-commerce shopping site, and you are asked to create a program that will calculate the price of the items in your shopping cart. And if you want to apply a discount, it will also apply a discount there. So that is the basic idea that is used here. So how, let me explain the code here first. So how this is created? So this is the margin of the discount. What is the, we are providing the 10% discount. If I convert it, it will be 0.1. So how? So the first function, I told you that the functions are the reusable code. That if I want to use this calculate total price function anywhere else in the program, so instead of writing the same thing, I can use this function. I can just only call this function. So the first function will calculate the total price of item in the cart, or if the discount is needed, so then it will apply the discount. So how it will calculate that? It will use a function called sum. Sum is a function in Python, a built-in function that will automatically sum up all the values that are given. Then we have used the if statement. If the total is greater than the discount threshold, then how you will calculate the discount? Means total will multiply the discount rate. So the discount rate is this. Then we will use this formula. So this is why you will print the discount and return the total. Then the second, we have a main function. Means where the execution, the actual execution of the program will start. Now, the main function is used to execute the main program. So we have a cart that is initialized with the shopping cart. Means this why this cart is empty. So we have used arrays, empty array to enter the item. So what are arrays? To store the data temporarily somewhere, we use data structures. Data structures may contain list, arrays. I think in the previous lecture, we have discussed about list. Like if you want, let's suppose, I think I have discussed this term that if we want to store the data of same time, like if it's a string, like the name of the fruits or something like that, then we go with arrays. You might question that we can also go with variables. Variables can store only one value. What if I want to store multiple values? To store the multiple values, we go with data structures. And the data structures that is mostly used here is arrays or linked list, and we also have other like stack or. But if you want to store the data of same time, means it is integer, or if it is numeric or float, then we go with arrays. Okay, depending upon the type of data, we choose our data structure. So here the data is of same type, means string. Then we use an empty array to initialize it with the shopping cart. So I told you that we use validators to check if the data is valid or not. I think we have discussed this validator that it will print true if the enter item is a numeric value. If not, it will throw an error that it is invalid price. Please enter a numeric number. Then we have set a if condition that if cart have something there, then you have to print the price of each and every thing in the cart. And then to execute the whole program, if it contains the function, we use this main function like this. Now, if I think it will not run just because we have interrupted this program. So let's run this again. Okay, let's enter some items here. So what should we enter here? Books, or suppose we have purchased some books, and we have also two items are enough here. So go with 30 and 4. Now, if you see, it throws an error. The question is why? Because I use a comma here. So here we have set the validation condition. If it's not a numeric value, please throw an error like this. So if I again and see, it also print this that the price is invalid, please enter a numeric value. So you can run this program multiple times, and this is the whole story that we have studied till now. We have studied functions, how they are actually used in our real life. So this is the practical example of this. Then how the if statements are used, how the loops are used in our daily life, or how we can create our own scenarios. So this is how the things are done. So I suggest you to use your own scenarios. Like here we have used a scenario to calculate the total price of items in the shopping cart. So as a short assessment or assignment, just to test, you can create a validator like this, that you will ask the user to enter some credentials like the username and password, and in a variable you have to set your own username or password. That you might think that here we are not talking about the database. You can just store that username and password in that specific variable. Then you can set this range validator or simple this validation condition like this. You can change the terms here, and you can try if the credentials are correct or matched or not. So you can try it. So it will expand your knowledge, and whatever you have studied till now, it will help you to understand that. Okay, clear? So this is the official Python documentation. You can write the Python documentation on Google and you will get this. And you can download whether you want a PDF, you want a HTML file, a plain text, or you want a text info. So you can download it, and then you can study about that. So let's download a PDF here just to show you. So after downloading, it was a folder, and in that folder, we have multiple sub PDF for each and everything. Like let's suppose, if you want Python tutorials here, so here is the full guide. Like if you want to know about numbers, like using Python as a calculator, how you can use Python for creating a small calculator. Then if you want to study more about if statements for, so each and everything is provided in this documentation. Like if you want to explore more, you can go with this, you can use this documentation. Everything is written here in a very easy language, like what is interpreter, how we can pass the arguments, how the parameters work. Then if you want to study about libraries of Python, so I think previously we discussed some of the libraries like pandas, numpy, tensorflow. We have discussed when and how to use that libraries. Everything is mentioned here. Like you can see that how long is this documentation, but here they have tell each and everything about the built-in functions, how to create your own built-in function, how many built-in functions are there. Like we have still studied the main function, the print function, the sum function. But if you want to explore more about that, then we can go with the set types. They have also discussed different data structure here. So this is the complete guide for Python. What is the built-in exceptions? What is the text processing services here? When and how to use the libraries? Different data types are mentioned here. Everything. And then after that, we come below. We have basic examples for them. So if you want to view Python at a very deeper level, then you can go with this documentation. How to deal with numerics and mathematical modules means the numeric tower, mathematical functions.